We're also live in YouTube.
Maybe we'll wait for 1 or 2 minutes and then probably we'll start.
Good evening, everyone. We'll be starting in a minute or two.
Shall we start, Shafiq, now or?
Yeah, I think we can start now.
Over to you, Paddy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Paddy Acharya. I'm the president of the Indian Business and Professional Group in Abu Dhabi. And a warm welcome to all of you. CA Neeraj Nitrolia, CA Sundar Nurani, members of ICA Abu Dhabi chapter and Dubai chapters, and members of IPBG. A warm welcome once again to all of you on our first ever joint event between the chapters as well as IPBG. We have record registrations of over 1,000 people, that too in the month of August. If I recall, the only other events in Abu Dhabi chapters history, for instance, where Mr. Narayan Murthy had spoken and the hall was not sufficient, we had to arrange for another hall. And when President Abdul Kalam, when he had spoken to us, again, the hall was full. This is a similar occasion, and I can see numbers being added. I also take this opportunity to welcome Sharjil Ahmed, partner from Monitor Deloitte, and the panelists Syed Javed Shah and Rohit Murlaya. Well, what should I say about the Golden Visa event? At the moment we saw the article being published in the newspaper on a chartered accountant getting Golden Visa, I started receiving a number of phone calls from many of you asking me similar questions, saying, you want to know more about Golden Visa. And we want you to do a seminar on Golden Visa. Then I spoke to my colleagues, Neeraj and Sundar, and we felt that having one seminar would be quite beneficial to all members. And that's when I contacted our panelists, Javed Shah, Rohit, and our moderator, Sharjil Ahmed, who kindly consented for speaking today for all of us. Back in 2019 was when the Golden Visa system was introduced in the UAE, broadly aimed at entrepreneurs, investors, specialized people with talents, researchers, and not last but not the least, students. Hopefully in today's session, you'll hear from our speakers about the Golden Visa program. And we also have kept a lot of time for Q&A. And you'll also hear about the personal experience of our speakers in terms of them obtaining their Golden Visa. I've also received a lot of suggestions from members of IPPG as well as from chartered accountants that we as bodies must lobby for our members in terms of getting Golden Visas for professionals as well as entrepreneurs. And we will do definitely in our best capacity to speak to the relevant authorities to facilitate Golden Visas for all of you. With this, I welcome CA Neeraj Ritolia, ICAI Abu Dhabi Chapter Chairman, to address all members. Thank you.
Thank you, Paddy. Thanks a lot. Executive Committee members of IBPG, ICAI Dubai Chapter, Abu Dhabi Chapter, members of all the three organizations, invited guests, good evening and welcome to this event. I hope you all are keeping safe and doing well. I welcome you all to this joint event, which is a kind of a unique. We have been doing events together with either Dubai Chapter or either IBPG. This is the first time we all have been, we are all together. And it is definitely something which is, we look forward to do more in future. Last year, the Foreign Secretary of India, Shri Harsh Vardhan Shringlaji mentioned that ICI is a partner in nation building, particularly in realizing Honorable Prime Minister's vision towards Atmanirbhar Bharat. He also mentioned that overseas chapter of ICI have an important role to play in economic diplomacy and would be treated at par to CII, FICCI, and ASSOCHAM for the purpose of economic engagement and consular facilitation. ICI recently inaugurated 43rd chapter, overseas chapter, and now ICI presence is across the globe along with 25 representative offices as well. ICI Abu Dhabi chapter has contributed rupees 10 lakhs to Chartered Accountant Benevolent Fund during COVID times, whereby any CA in distress can be helped. We continue to embark our journey of distant learning through webinars. These days in UAE, Expo and Golden Visa, these are the two most discussed topics. Today event is on en route to the Golden Visa, Thrive in UAE. The session will give you an insight all about Golden Visa. The chapter, along with Dubai chapter and IBPG, will initiate a discussion with relevant authorities and ministries on how this Golden Visa can be made available to professionals like chartered accountants. Just a quick brief about our chapter. Recently, we concluded a weight loss program where our members and spouses attended that, and it was a great participation. More than around 100 members took part in that. Burjeel, our sponsor, provided free Ayurveda packages to the top 3 winners. The chapter is also trying to engage with all the stakeholders, members, sponsors, and well-wishers by doing webinars, both on professional and social front. The managing committee has planned a couple of workshops, primarily on robotics and IFRS. And on social front, we are coming up with a chess tournament for our members, and some other initiatives are being taken. We are pleased to inform that one of our CA friend has been honored with Golden Visa. I welcome you all to the virtual CPE event, where CA Syed Shah and Rohit Murlaya will talk about their Golden Visa journey. Mr. Sharjil Ahmed from Deloitte will be moderating this session and throw light upon pros and cons of the Golden Visa. I request everyone to remain safe and remain healthy. And now I request our Dubai chapter chairman, CA Sundar Norani, to please put his welcome address. Thank you so much.
Thank you, CA Neeraj. Respected moderator, Mr. Shargil Ahmed, panelist CA Syed Javeed Shah, and Mr. Rohit Muralia, CA Padmanabha Acharya, President of IBBG, and other dignitaries from IBBG, CA Neeraj Ritolia, Chairman of ICA Dubai Chapter, ICA Abu Dhabi Chapter, Galaxy of Past Chairman of Abu Dhabi and Dubai Chapters and IPPG, ICA Dubai Chapter Vice Chairman CA Anurag Chaturvedi, ICA Abu Dhabi Vice Chairman CA John George, members of the ICA Abu Dhabi and Dubai chapters and members of IBBG, managing committee members of the chapter and IBBG, invited guests, sponsors and their representatives, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to all of you. 2019 was a golden year for all of us as expatriates, as the UAE implemented a new system for long-term residence visas, which enables foreigners to live, work and study in the UAE without the need of a national sponsor, and with 100% ownership of their business on UAE's mainland. These visas will be issued for 5 or 10 years and will be renewed automatically. Sri Yusuf Ali of Lulu Group, who is our sponsor as well, was the first to receive this golden visa, which was a proud moment for all of us as expatriates from India. This initiative of the government of UAE has created lots of positive impact on the expatriate community, and the recent announcement to have the golden visa granted to all doctors is a very welcoming decision, which will pave the way for other professionals to fall in this category soon, hopefully. I am also glad to share with you that many of our past chairmen from the Dubai chapter, like CA GR Mehtaji, CA Raju Menon, CA Mahmood Bangara, and recently CA Naveen Sharma, already are the recipients of golden visa. I am sure that after today's event, all of you will be getting the necessary information and direction which will enable you to grab this golden opportunity and thus contribute towards the national building of our motherland India and homeland UAE. As we have many members from Dubai chapter attending today's event, I will take 2 more minutes to discuss our Independence Day related event. We have organized a quiz competition for the children of our members in celebration of our 75th Independence Day on August 14. I encourage members to register their children for this competition. We have planned in-person Independence Day event on August 15. Colonel Padmanabhan will be addressing the members, and we will be joined by our Consul General, who will be awarding the winners of the quiz competition. Event will be graced by His Excellency Engineer Sheikh Salam bin Sultan bin Sakar Al Qasimi, Chief Guest, and other dignitaries from UAE and India. You can enjoy Raga Hindustani, showcasing India's traditional music instruments such as tabla, sitar, flute, mridanga, veena, and violin for creating the mesmerizing music fusion. Also, there will be Dancing India, depicting the cultural and folk dances from across India to show the power of unity and diversity. Through Colonel Padmanabhan, the chapter has identified around 30 students in India who are not able to continue with their education as they don't have smartphones to attend the classes which are happening virtually. We will be supporting this good cause through the Colonel Sir. Only fully vaccinated members will be able to attend this event physically, duly following all the COVID protocols. Before I sign off, let me wish you all a happy 75th Independence Day in advance, and looking forward to seeing you all on August 15, 2021 for our Independence Day celebration. I wish you good health, wealth, peace and prosperity. Jai Hind, Jai ICAI. Stay safe and stay blessed. Over to you, CA Rajiv Shah, Secretary and Treasurer of IBBG, to take the proceedings further for this meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Sundar. It's my great privilege now to introduce the speakers, and probably it will be appropriate to start with the golden boys, Rohit and our own chartered accountant, who's got the golden visa. So Rohit, of course, he's also a committee member of IBPG, visionary leader, disruptive innovator that believes in thinking outside the box. Rohit is a food and beverage industry authority and is a current director of the SFC Group. In managing the group's portfolio for more than 14 award-winning food and beverage venues and hotels, he spearheads the group's long-term commercial strategy and heads multi-departmental performance. Under his leadership, the group has been recognized for service excellence for 6 consecutive years and he has been honored with the prestigious Sheikh Khalifa Excellence Award and the Dubai Quality Award. Leading a dedicated team of over 2,200 people, food professionals with a passion for excellence in service, SFC has now become a food and beverage platform that is in the process of developing additional homegrown food concepts. I welcome Rohit to our panel discussion today. As I move on to introduce Syed Javed, our own chartered accountant, who has also got the golden visa. And if you look at his qualifications, I think 5 minutes will go just in discussing that. So qualified chartered accountant, US licensed CPA, active license from Texas and Vermont Board of Accountancy, USA, CGMA from USA, due diligence certified from USA, strategic CFO from Mika CFO Academy USA, and Bachelor of Commerce and Excellence Award winner from Government of Andhra Pradesh, India. I don't know where you got time to do all this, Syed, but congratulations for all this. A global strategic finance and commercial controller with diversified experience from oil and gas and other industries of 26 plus countries, experience including USA, UK, Europe, Middle East, etc. And for the last 16 years, he is the only authorized and certified acceptance individual by Internal Revenue Service from USA in Abu Dhabi, UAE. Welcome, Syed, for our panel discussion. And last but not the least, let me introduce our moderator for the day, Sharjil. Sharjil is a partner in Monitor Deloitte, specializing in government policy and strategy. He has more than 14 years of experience in advising governments on public policy, social and economic development, and performance improvement. In the Middle East, Sharjil has advised clients in the UAE and Saudi Arabia, including the Abu Dhabi DED, Abu Dhabi Department of Community Development, the Executive Office, Louvre Abu Dhabi, SAGEA, the Job Creation Commission, ADAA, MOMRA, and the Royal Court. Prior to working in Middle East, Sharjil worked in the UK with the Ministry of Justice, the Home Office, the Ministry of Defence, and the National Audit Office. He started his career at the UK Cabinet Office as a public sector reform policy advisor. So as you all can see, we have three excellent panelists and a moderator for today's session. And without taking much time, I'll hand over the reins to you, Sharjil, to take it forward from here.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for the very warm welcome. I'm going to spend a few minutes this evening to share with you a bit of a briefing on the Golden Visa. And what I'm most keen to do this evening is to run through these slides relatively quickly and then get into a Q&A session with our panelists who have been awarded a Golden Visa, because I am as eager as you are to understand about their experience in applying for the visa, getting it, and what it means for them. So I will take you through a little bit of a briefing on the Golden Visa before we get into the Q&A. Now, you heard a little bit about my background. What qualifies me for this conversation is that I've been working with the Abu Dhabi Department of Economic Development since January on getting Abu Dhabi in a place where they can launch the Golden Visa application process through a newly created entity that was launched 2 weeks ago, the Abu Dhabi Residence Office. So I've been working with the Residence Office to get them ready for taking on Golden Visa applications and processing them and granting those visas as quickly as possible. I do not claim to be a technical expert on all of the requirements for all of the different categories of visa. So I can't answer all questions around that, but I can certainly direct you to where you can get those answers if there are any that I can't answer. But like I say, this is going to be a relatively straightforward session where I take you through this briefing and then we can get into the Q&A. And I hope everyone can see the screen that I shared. So the overview, I mean, the background to this, we all know the Golden Visa concept has been talked about for a few years. And the reason behind it is that the government overall wants to make sure that the UAE is a long-term home for expats like us. So it's been designed to enable expats like us to live and work and study here in the UAE, so that we consider it a long-term home, because that's where the long-term economic benefit is for the government. And what surprises me is that every week there are some stories that pop up into my newsfeed of people who have been granted visas, and they're all from different walks of life. We've got doctors, which we hear about a lot. We hear about about technology people, so coders who are being given golden visas, as well as colleagues on the call today from an accountancy background, but also people from creative industry. So there is a huge swathe of talent that is being granted a golden visa, and that's very interesting. And it's just good to see how all of this develops. Now, the golden visa, there are broadly four category of visa that you can apply for. There is a category for investors, there is a category for entrepreneurs, there is a category for students, and then there is an interesting category called special talent, which is a catch-all for all sorts of different careers and backgrounds. So that's very, very interesting. And most of these have a 10-year visa associated with them. Some of them have 5, and we'll get onto that in a moment. And there is a list of requirements for them. So we'll run through that relatively quickly, but I will direct you to where you can get the information once we've gone through this. And I'm sure we can share these. We can arrange for these slides to be shared to everybody on the call, so that you can have these for reference. So the investor category actually has a 10-year visa associated with it. And what's interesting is that there are different things that make you eligible. You can either have a cash deposit, or you can have a stake in a company, or you can own a company. And you just have to meet the requirements. And this is a category where there are a growing number of people who are applying for the visa. There are slight differences between the Dubai and Abu Dhabi process, because the authority that approves the application varies obviously between Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and some of those differences are captured in here as well. So you need to provide proof of funds, proof of ownership, all of the usual things that you would expect, and that you will have if you qualify for this category. For me, what a really interesting category is real estate investors. This is a category that only has a 5-year visa actually currently associated with it, but I wouldn't be surprised if this changes, given that we had a change in the threshold for what your investment needs to be in property. I think this used to be 5 million, and it's come down to 2 million recently. So as long as you have that invested in real estate, a relatively straightforward process, which shouldn't be too complicated for anybody. Similarly for entrepreneurs, and I'm keen to talk to Rohit, who is a golden visa holder under this category. 5 years associated with this, and there is a capital investment requirement as well as some paperwork required. Executive directors, 10 years for this category. And unsurprisingly, a lot of the requirements are similar to those that you need for just having a labor contract in the UAE anyway. So attested degree certificates, proof of employment, etc. So nothing complicated here. What's interesting is that the Economic Development Department in Abu Dhabi is the certifying authority for accepting executive directors, which is then which is part of the process for making this for granting this. When it comes to education, we've got 2 categories. We've got high school graduates and university graduates. One has 5 years, one has a 10-year visa. Obviously, they're looking for people who are talented and are achieving really good grades, which is one of the criteria here. And the Ministry for Education is part of the process for accepting nominations for this particular category. Then we've got the doctors and scientists as we get into special talent. 10 years for here, and I think this is probably the easiest category for getting a visa for this. On the scientist side, this is, from a policy perspective, very interesting, because the certifying authority is the same across the UAE. Same one in Dubai, same one in Abu Dhabi, rather than a separate one in Abu Dhabi. And then we've got the inventors and specialists in priority education, and then we've got some very specific skills that the government is looking to attract around educators in early childhood. And if you reflect on how the other categories are generally quite broad, this is a very specific requirement, and that tells you something about where opportunities are in the wider economy, because this is an underserved part of the UAE market. And then we've got, you know, your technical specialists around science and engineering, and then finally your PhD visa holders who will also qualify for a 10-year visa with the recommendation of the Ministry of Education. I'm not sure whether we have creatives on this call, but there is a category for creatives, and there may be some sportsmen who have joined this, sportswomen or sportsmen who have joined this call, but there is a special category for those people. Now, the process is slightly different for application in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. This is the process in Abu Dhabi. You can go along to a TAM or a YAS or a Tawassul printer, and these are the three where there are dedicated people to take on applications. So if you have all of the documents, they can accept them from you, and then they can make this happen. If you have specific questions about the Abu Dhabi process, or if things get stuck somewhere, there is an email address here for the Abu Dhabi Residence Office. And given the importance that the Executive Council and therefore the chairman has placed on the Golden Visa and servicing applications quickly, this email address people are very responsive to this. If you have any problems, this is the email address to contact, and they will get back to you very, very quickly. Also on this page are the details of where you go for the centers. I've also got a slide here on how you apply in Dubai. I suspect there are lots of colleagues on the call who are Dubai based. Here is the process, and here is the contact center for that. Now, process is similar. If anything, it's probably a little bit quicker and more efficient in Dubai because they've been issuing visas for just a few more months longer than Abu Dhabi. But if there are any problems, then here are the people that you can contact to make that happen. Now, like I say, what I'm particularly interested in this afternoon is hearing the experiences of our panelists who have gone through the process and have been granted a visa. So I'll stop sharing these slides, and we will get those circulated if people are interested in that. And I think we'll get Sayed and Rohit to join me on the screen now. And I've got some questions which I'm interested in. But if there are people on the call who have questions, please type them into the Q&A. I will try and keep on top of this while I'm asking the questions, and and ask some of these. But we have a separate Q&A for the general, for people on the call. So first of all, welcome Rohit and Sayed. Thank you very much for joining us. Question number one that I have, and I'll start with Sayed because you're at the top of my screen. When did you get your visa? How long have you had it?
First of all, good evening, everyone, and it's an honor to be in the panel as one of the panelists. I got my visa, I think, somewhere a month ago in the month of June. I think I'm one of the fortunate, I can call myself that, I can take that as a privilege, that offered, the golden visa in finance field from Abu Dhabi. And the process was pretty quick. I think I have been nominated by the authority. I've been asked to come and submit the documents. And after submitting the documents, as far as I recall, it was pretty quick. After submitting the documents, it took 2 working days to process the visa.
Okay, that's useful to know. Same question to you, Rohit. Welcome, first of all. How long have you had your visa?
Let me thank you for having me on the panel to discuss this. I got my visa last year in September. I applied in Abu Dhabi as well, but I applied for the investor visa because we are making considerable investments in Abu Dhabi in the Giza port, and as such, we applied online on the ICA website, and we got an approval within 5 days.
Right, and you say you were nominated by an authority. Would you know who it was? I mean, I've been talking to DED, and I will explain what the process is. But who nominated you for the process?
No, for me, because we have investment in the country, we just had to show the investment that we had put into the country, and then it was a straightforward application process.
Right, because I know that
required.
Because I know that the government of Abu Dhabi, DED, have been asking all of the other ministries in Abu Dhabi for nominees, expat nominees that they would like to put forward into the process proactively. And government has been contacting these people to say, look, you've been nominated, we'd like you to apply. Would you mind applying for the golden visa? We think you're eligible, which I think is a very interesting approach rather than, waiting for people to react and apply. They've been invited to apply. And, undersecretaries and senior people in ministries have been nominating people that they're familiar with to come and apply for the golden visa, which I think is an interesting approach. So, Rohit, what was your experience of going through the process? What did you have to do? You said it took 5 days. What was the process? What was your experience?
It was a straightforward application process. We just had to submit and show the kind of investment that we were doing. Luckily, we were setting up a whole infrastructure project of ours in Kizad Port, Khalifa Port, as I mentioned. And this involves a 30 million project that we are building, which is a warehouse come central production facility that we have been investing in over the past year. And since it's a sizable investment, it was just a clear-cut process of showing the investment in land, the investment in facilities and infrastructure that we are putting into the country. And we also got we have a close association with one of the local sheikhs who recommended us for applying, and that helped us speed up along the process.
I bet that helped quite a lot, actually. So now, Sayed, question for you is, what benefit does the golden visa give you? What do you expect to gain from it? How does it impact your life and work in the UAE?
I mean, first of all, for me as a person, it's a matter of prestige. And the second thing is it gives me more confidence. I'm forming as one of the person in the strategic vision 2030 of UAE, where the rulers has highlighted that they want to retain talent in this country. And especially the visa, my category was under special talent. So that gives me immense confidence. And second thing is in terms of work, I'm not under anyone's particular sponsorship now. I'm on my own. So that gives me the liberty to work for anyone. If I would like to switch the employment, that gives me the ease. And then third thing I see is, in terms of if I want to start my business tomorrow, then I can start up my business in the mainland with 100% ownership. So those are the advantages what I can see. But if I think one more step ahead, I think I'm creating now a bond with the authorities, a direct relationship with the authorities, which was not the case before. When I'm working for any organization now in current scenario, whoever is having 2 years visa. So it's a trusted bond between authorities, which might open the door for citizenship going forward, might be. So that's how I take that as personally.
Okay, thank you. And Rohit, how do you expect the golden visa to benefit you? How does it impact your life and work?
I completely agree with Syed and his thought approach. It gives a lot of confidence in us, and that the leadership of the country is welcoming us with open arms. And it reflects, the diversity in its society and how this country is, built with expats. As an investor, I believe it will attract a lot of foreign investment and stimulate the economy. As an employer, I envision that in the future, it will give me a lot of ability to access a talented and skilled workforce for key leadership positions with local experience. And as a family person, it gives me a lot of stability for my family, and I see myself settled here for a long time in the future.
Yeah, and that was a question I was going to go on to. I don't know you personally, so I don't know what your personal situations are. But what does this mean for your family, Rohit? And then I'll ask this question of Sayed. What does this mean for if you have a family in the UAE? What does it mean for them? What are the benefits to them?
So I got married last year. So my wife is on my golden visa. My sisters have gotten access to the golden visa through my parents. And the additional benefit is that they can travel still freely. They can stay outside the country for more than 6 months without an expiry of the visa. So those are additional benefits where the country feels like a second home for us.
Okay, that's useful. And I wasn't aware of those benefits, actually. So that's personally useful to me. And one more question to you, actually, before we go on to Sayed and the impact of this on his family. Does the Golden Visa change your thinking on which projects you take on in the UAE and what you invest your time in?
It does. During such uncertain times where you don't know what's happening, especially in the last 2 years, it instills a lot of confidence because you see a lot of people have a lot of loyalty towards the country, and this kind of open invitation by the leadership for trying to attract and retain talented individuals in this economy shows a lot of promise for the future. And as an investor, I couldn't ask for anything more.
Yeah, sure. I can understand that. So say just the question on the family, what are there any benefits that that there are for your immediate family on this? How has there been anything? I know you've not had it as long, actually.
Yeah, no, I agree with Rohit what he said. I mean, in terms of travel, definitely it eases. I mean, all the time your status with ICA is green, so you don't have to take any approval during these pandemic situations when you travel somewhere else. So that's number one. And second thing, what I see is if your spouse is working for some employer, then their employer take this as a positive note. I mean, in terms of visa, they have now 10 years visa, so that gives them positive confidence. And then if spouse wants to open up any business or anything in the country, then definitely they can go for a business where he can be 100% owner of that business in the mainland.
Right. Now, so that's really good. Now, I have a question which I'd really appreciate, just spending some time on. Have there been any practical implications which have been difficult for you of moving from the visa arrangement you had previously to moving to a golden visa? And I'm particularly interested in, has there been any impact on, your medical insurance, your relationship with your employer, labor contracts, that kind of stuff? And say, I'm particularly looking at you for this because your experience is more recent. Have there been any practical implications that have just required a little bit of navigation which you hadn't anticipated beforehand?
Yeah, I mean, initially, I think in the month of June, when I got my visa and I approached the Ministry of Labor for changeover of my contract, there was no much clarity at that point of time. That was little bit of ambiguity was there. And when I have to cancel my labor contract, so I was working for the same employer. So then, the question was in relation to end of service benefits. So that was little bit, ambiguity. And then when I approached the further in the authority, then they said they can add a clause into the labor contract to say that my end of service benefit will be retrospectively from XYZ date. But luckily now, I see on 1st of July, Ministry of Human Resource and Emiratisation has made an announcement where they have created three categories for the golden visa holders. So the first one was if you got a golden visa and you are not working for someone, then there is a category created and you can have a labor contract there. Our second one was like for me, who got the golden visa and who want to continue working for the same employer. A category has been added. Now it's there in their system. And the third one is if you are already employed by somebody else and now you want to switch over the employment. So that third category is also created. So now it's more defined parameters within the departments. So I don't think that would be a hassle for somebody else. And in terms of my current employer, I don't see that as an issue with the company as such, because they are more than happy to support me, which was really good. And I think your second fold question was in terms of cost on medical insurance, etc. So in terms of medical insurance, you don't have to change your existing medical insurance. That would be valid. So it will continue as is. So you don't have to worry from that perspective.
Sure. And thank you for that, because one of the reasons the Abu Dhabi resident office was slightly slower in being launched was because we were trying to work through these two particular policy issues with wider government, particularly the Labour card issue, because once that's cancelled, actually that has a financial impact on people because of the end of service benefit liability disappearing, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's really, it's good to know that, things will be easier for people now. I think, it's always possible to solve these issues, but let's not have them in the first place. Now, Rohit, similar question for you. Have there been any practical implications of having a golden visa that's made your life just a little bit complicated, or you had to sort out anything since September, which you hadn't anticipated?
Nothing particularly comes to mind, to be honest, because as an investor and owner of the cost applications, there's nothing that changes as such. There was no labor contract in place or anything for me. So as such, it was the investor status that just got converted to a golden visa.
Okay, good. Now I have just another couple of questions, I think, before we open up the floor for questions from everybody else. The first question I have is, are there any tips you can offer? And Saeed, I'm looking at you because, again, your experience is much more recent. Are there any tips you can offer from your experience for colleagues on the call who are thinking about applying in the next few weeks?
Rohit, you want me to lead?
Sorry?
No, you want me to answer first, or you will take that first?
Saeed, if you could answer first, please.
Okay. All right. So now, in terms of tips, I think the first tip I can give to everyone who are employed and who wants to apply for the golden visa. First thing, please be ensured that your documents are all attested. When I say attested, it does not mean mere attestation. If you have your certificate of equivalency from Ministry of Education for your degrees, that will add more credibility, and in terms of process, it will ease, as I have seen that. And the second thing is, in terms of your labor contract, please ensure that your labor contract is up to date and you have access to your labor contract from the Ministry of Labor. I think those are the two key things I think anyone should take into account when they're applying for the golden visa. And they really need to see in which category they fit into. I think that's really important, because once you see that you are fitting into a particular category, then I think it is pretty straightforward from there on.
Rohit, any tips from you?
I completely agree with Syed. It's about validating your documents with the ministries, the relevant ministries, and making sure that you keep up to date, because these rules keep changing and evolving. So the categories and how they're issued always keeps changing. For example, the healthcare system and how doctors are invited has recently changed. There's recently been an announcement of a special category for coders. So I'm sure that the government is constantly evolving and always introducing new categories. So I'm sure eventually they'll also get to the CA category also, for sure.
And my final question, Rohit, to you first. What was the cost of your visa, and has it been worth it?
Well, for the visa application, I didn't have to pay anything. Whereas if you actually look at the investment that was there in the country, that is another way of looking at it. But that was investment that we were going to make anyways, because we see a lot of potential in this country. This country has supported us, welcomed us, and whatever we have built as a family and as a business has been by their good graces and the support of the rulers of this country. So as such, we see a lot of potential, and we were happily investing into the country and to our future over here.
Well, that's interesting. You preempted a question I was going to ask you as a follow-up. Would you have done anything differently? And it sounds like you would have made these investments anyway. Now, final question for Said. Again, the cost of the visa. How much did you pay for your visa, and has it been worth it so far?
Yeah, definitely it is worth. So it is just 3,700 dirhams to be precise. That is for 10 years, including your Emirates ID. So it's just a one-time cost. So if you have a family and children, then you have to multiply the 3,700 with number of members. So definitely it is worth in terms of cost, if you see for a period of 10 years, you know.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much. Now, I can see we've had lots of questions coming in from the floor, and I think we're expecting Mr. John George to facilitate the Q&A that we have from the wider group. Can we? I know the timing is a bit early, but can we move on to that, given that we have so many questions?
Thank you, Mr. Shagil, for your wonderful moderation and a fantastic panel we have today. And you share a lot of information. It was very useful for us. And we have today a lot of questions in the Q&A session. And I think it's like a marathon. You're going to answer one by one. We have a lot of questions. So let me start with the question. And Golden Visa is one of the hot topic in this town right now. And every alternate days, we find in a newspaper somebody standing with a picture of a Golden Visa. And who's attending here would like to see our picture one day in the newspaper standing with a Golden Visa and say, oh, hey, I got a Golden Visa. 2 days back, or I think yesterday, we saw a news that doctors are eligible to get a Golden Visa. And we chartered accountants are equivalent to doctors or second to none. What is the procedure for chartered accountants to get a Golden Visa? Is it can you just guide us? Let me put this question to Mr. Shagil.
So the question is, sorry, what is the process?
Yeah, for chartered accountants would like to get a Golden Visa. Yeah. What's the process? Is it that we as an organization can go and get a Golden Visa as the doctors has done? What is your suggestion? We would like to hear about that.
Right. So there isn't a specific category for accountants within the special talent right now. But given what accountants do in on a day-to-day basis, we are colleagues are either investors or they're executive leaders, executive directors, then they apply for those through those categories. I suspect that the government will add additional special talent categories eventually, but I think for the moment there isn't going to be one for chartered accountants, but I suspect others will be created in the future. So accountants who are applying through the entrepreneur business leader category, or the executive director category, or as investors.
Okay, thank you. And we have a question from Anto Manikantan. We are all cost conscious, and the question is, could someone please explain the procedure for getting? The question has just moved down. When people start writing the question, the screen start moving, scrolling down. So let me come back, please. Could you please provide the details of cost, like visa cost, insurance cost, and other cost for each category of visa and family members?
Okay, I think I just answered a while ago, Mr. George, but let me repeat it. It's 3,700 dirhams to be precise number. That's including visa and Emirates ID cost. Now, as far as insurance is concerned, that is something which will continue cost same as with your employer. So that does not change with your Golden Visa as such.
Javed, I have a specific question on insurance. Is it required that you need 1 year insurance from the date of application, or because for many people their insurance timing may differ? What do you do in such a situation?
No, that's not required. So as long as your insurance was issued and it was for a period of 1 year, then it's valid.
And I think just to build on that, Paddy, there are discussions about how do you enable this for people who are outside of the country and have international travel insurance, and is that recognized? And I think we're moving to a place where that will be recognized, and you don't need to have it, you know, for a year from the date of application. It's whatever you have because you are covered.
Yeah, a few questions, you know, there's repetition, but you already covered in your presentation as well. Maybe few members might have missed out in the beginning. So some question I will repeat it. One question is basically for investors, what is the capital required for getting a golden visa?
So Rohit, do you want to share your experience on that? And then I can.
So when I applied, the rules were different because I applied last year. And at that point, it was 10 million dirhams, and you have to show the investment has been in the country for 3 years period. Whereas now I think it has been reduced to a 2 million dirham investment. So the rules keep changing. Whereas there is an entrepreneur category as well, which you can apply for through the incubator programs that both Abu Dhabi and Dubai have, called the Hub 71, as well as there is an initiative called Thrive in Abu Dhabi, through which you can apply for an entrepreneur or an SME category. As long as you have experience and you have a sound business plan, I'm sure that you can nominate yourself through a new website that was launched called business.goldenvisa.com. And once the committee in Abu Dhabi or Dubai approves it, then you can apply for the golden visa as well. So
Yeah,
for that, the capital is quite low.
So for the entrepreneur category, you need to have had a successful project in the UAE with a value of 500,000 dirhams. So actually, capital, that's not very much. On the real estate side, the investment originally was 5 million dirhams. It's now 2 million dirhams, and you can have a mortgage as part of that as well, and that's got to have been in place for at least 2 years in terms of you must maintain your investment there. And for investors, you need to have a deposit of 2 million, or you need to have evidence of having paid taxes of 250,000 dirhams annually for the last 2 years. And again, all of these details are in the slides that we'll circulate and share, and they are online at the Abu Dhabi Resident Office website as well.
We have a very interesting question on real estate. Like a husband and wife holding jointly invest in real estate property worth more than 2 million. Will they eligible for, without any mortgage, will they eligible for golden visa?
Now, like I said at the beginning, can't answer detailed specific questions about individual cases because it's just too complicated. But there are places you can look online and you can get the answers, or you can go into a Tasheal center or one of the other entities that I highlighted and ask them the specific question. But my suspicion is that it'll have to be a 2 million real estate investment per person.
Great. Whether university students who have scored very well but studied outside UAE can apply for golden visa? A student.
I mean, again, these are very specific technical questions about all categories, and I don't know the answers to the detailed eligibility criteria. I suggest if there are questions like this, you apply and contact the authorities and ask them the question. I wouldn't want to give any misleading information on this, and I don't think that that's what this forum is for.
Just to add on to that, George, what you asked just now, I mean, one thing I understood was from one of the colleagues who applied for his son. He has been asked to contact Ministry of Education because department said they have to be nominated by Ministry of Education to be eligible for. So as Mr. Shagil rightly said, they have to approach the authority and get the more specific details about it.
Okay, thank you very much. For the interest of the listeners, please ask general questions, very specific questions. The authority decides how to give the golden visa. Excuse me if I ask a specific question, but I'm trying to make it general questions. How many dependent visas can a golden visa holder can have? Would parents and spouse qualify?
Parents, spouses, and children qualify as of now. There are also categories for dependent siblings as well, but proof of that is a much more difficult process, which I'm not familiar with. But you can contact the relevant authorities to find out more information.
Thank you very much. If someone is an employee of a company but meets the real estate investment criteria, can the employer apply for a golden visa for employee?
I believe if it's a real estate investment, they have to apply themselves using that category, not the employer.
We can go to the next question is basically how the golden visa would help the people under employment. What's the value added?
I mean, in terms of employment, if you see, it will ease you in terms of changing the employment. I mean, you're on your own, as I said earlier. And then next thing is, if you want to have your practice or any business in the UAE, in the mainland, you can be 100% owner of that business as well. So it gives you that value added advantage as compared to you're on someone else's sponsorship.
Very general question next is you already covered during your presentation, but I'm just asking the question for all members here. If you're holding a position of a director and holding a senior position in a company, is there any minimum salary criteria to apply for golden visa?
Sorry, is there any minimum what criteria?
Minimum
Salary.
Okay, yes, I think that, yes, there is. The minimum salary criteria is 50,000 dirhams a month.
Yeah, 50,000 dirhams. Thank you for that. And we saw it in your presentation as well. One question is that on real estate, is it the market value of the purchase cost is considered as a 2 million for real estate?
Don't know the answer to that one. It's a good question, actually.
I
think it's a very good question because this is something that we're not always in control of, right? So I suspect that it will be market value, but it's worth checking.
Yeah, very interesting question. The next is one question from Virendra Sharma. Normally, in UAE, after 18 years, the boys won't get visa. So can our children also get golden visa who are above 18 years of age?
Seriously, I mean, we need to check, what adult dependents, what the rules are on adult dependents. I think it varies from category to category, and probably not that dissimilar from what we have on sponsoring children on a regular visa.
Well, I think if it's dependent and unmarried, then there is a scope, at least for daughters, for sure, in my knowledge. I don't know about.
John, on the previous question relating to real estate, I might have an answer. Basically, they want a copy of the purchase agreement registered with the Department of Municipalities and Transport, or any body which is responsible for real estate registration, and certificate issued by these entities to evidence the particulars of the landlord, and the value is not less than 2 million dirhams. So they're looking at the value registered with the competent authorities. And I would assume that it's based on the purchase price, what you have paid.
Thank you, Paddy, for that. The next question I would like to ask from Preeti Jai Prasad. What will happen once the visa expires? Will we have to requalify the same process or renewed automatically?
I mean, Rohit or Sayed, you mentioned this earlier. I mean, what's your understanding of what will happen?
I think we need to go through the process again, because you need to just go and I'm assuming the process would be similar in terms of renewal. So possibly you need to front up with the similar documents, because we don't have any very specifics about that, because it's just recently announced. So I think we need to wait and watch.
The ministry website says it is going to be renewed automatically. So if you go to the official website, it says, but it's 10 years down the line, and we hope the regulations are the same.
My understanding is that you have to be in the same position. So whatever the investment is, whatever the salary is, whatever the real estate investment is, if you still hold that, or you still hold something of similar value, then it can be renewed. It doesn't have to be in the same employment or same employer as such.
We have a question from Manish Jaju. Is the visa independent of your current employer? That is, does it still remain valid if you change your employment?
Yes.
Yes, it remains valid, and your visa will go with you, not with your employer. So it's independent to your employment.
And it's the concept of you don't need your employer to sponsor you to be employed in the UAE. You are your own sponsor, so you have that freedom.
Question from Mr. Parag Bajaj would like to understand more on the investor category, where an individual holds UAE entity through a chain of foreign companies.
Okay.
What's the question?
Question is basically you don't own directly, it's through foreign companies. The entity is owned through a chain of foreign companies.
Okay.
An individual through foreign companies.
I guess I'm not sure, but I imagine that once the beneficial ownership has been declared for the companies, especially with the recent requirement for everyone to disclose, it'll be much more easier to show the investment of an individual, even through foreign investment, and you can apply through that.
We have a question. Does the Golden Visa provides any other benefits similar to citizenship cards issued to Emiratis?
My understanding is the Golden Visa is the first step towards permanent residency in the long run. That is the intention behind the introduction of the Golden Visa. So once you qualify for this, I think down the line when they introduce new policies, they will make a pathway towards permanent residency, or even they announced for getting an Emirati passport as well for those who are interested. So I'm sure this is the starting steps towards that.
Right, I agree with Rohit what he said. It's just a beginning. It's the stepping stone. So it might lead to the citizenship, and it's one of the hurdle you are crossing. You are reaching near your goal if you want to.
One question from Anto. It's what sort of approval a Golden Visa holder needs to work for any organization? Would there be any sort of work permit needed?
Yes, I mean the visa what you are holding, that's your immigration status, not your work permit. So in terms of work permit, you need to have your labor contract with the Ministry of Labor as usual. So that will go hand in hand, which has got nothing to do with your Golden Visa.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Is there any precondition of your stay in UAE, like need to be a resident in UAE for more than 10 years or so? Please advise.
My understanding is that isn't a requirement.
Okay. Does the Golden Visa comes with any GCC-wide travel or other preferences?
Not at the moment, to my knowledge. I think a lot of borders are still closed, and I think we'll have to wait further until they define certain travel protocols between GCC countries.
But I think just to add on to that, I mean, the added benefit, what I see in terms of visas, if you are applying specially for US or Canada, that will give you added advantage in terms of your easing the visa application process. I believe so.
Great. Again, question on investment. What if the capital is less than the required investment, but together with reserves and surplus, it is way ahead of the required investment? In 100%, in a 100% establishment, there is no memorandum to show minimum share capital, but in audited financials, there is honors fund. So what is the criteria they consider for reserves and surplus or a proprietary firm?
I think as Shargil mentioned, there was a tax payment criteria as well. If you've shown a history of that, then you can use that to apply.
Yes, correct. I think it's 250,000 for the last 2 years. Yes.
Yeah, a question from Mr. Samir Joshi. It's once you get a golden visa and you lose a job or decide to quit or sell out your investment, does it impact the initial grant of visa?
Don't know. I don't know whether I mean, this is so new. Don't know whether that has been thought through or whether there's been a case of that. It's worth asking.
Mr. Mustafa Mukadam asking, do we have to first cancel the existing visa before applying for golden visa?
No, you don't have to cancel. I mean, first you have to have approval of your golden visa by keeping your existing visa live. Once you get the approval from the relevant committee, then they will ask you to cancel your existing visa. At that stage, you need to cancel.
Does it make any difference if you make application from Dubai or from the Northern Emirates?
There is a little bit of a difference in terms of who the approving authorities are, but it's the Golden Visa is a national program, and it's being implemented locally by Dubai and Abu Dhabi. So it's pretty similar. There are some differences, but not significant, certainly not in eligibility criteria.
John, with respect to the earlier question, for real estate, I might have an answer. So if you are getting a visa on the basis of your real estate property, and let's say it's 2 million dirhams, and you got that visa and you sold that property, then you need to buy a similar property within 6 months. And otherwise, you need to at least hold that property for 2 years. So if you've been granted a golden visa, one of the conditions is that you will hold that property for 2 more years. And that's basically the condition. This is for real estate.
Thank you, Paddy, for that. Since we all work in a company and employed by some company, do we need to inform the employer before applying? The question from Sangal Patwa.
I mean, it's not an obligation to, but I think in the good interest, you might keep your employer informed, because it really depends how the employer takes that. But I don't see that as an issue, but you don't have to. I mean, it's not an obligation, but to be in the good terms with the employer, you have to keep them informed, I think.
Yeah, one important question also. Do we need to do medical tests every 2 to 3 years, or is it required after 10 years? Is also Emirates ID issued for 10 years?
Yes, Emirates ID is issued for 10 years, and your visa is for a period of 10 years. Now, in terms of the medicals, I don't think you have to go through the regular medicals, because your residency is valid for a period of 10 years. But I don't know, maybe that rule might change, but as of now, I don't see that.
No, I think the intention is that you don't do them as frequently, you do it at renewal.
Yeah, one question is on related to Dubai. Can we have information on the experience in getting golden visa from Dubai?
I think unfortunately both of the applicants are have applied in Abu Dhabi, but I'm sure the rules are not that different. But there are centers where you can approach in Dubai. Any Amar you can go to, you can ask for more information and for more clarity in whichever category you're choosing to apply for.
Thank you. We have many repeated questions. I just need to sort it out. Again, more questions on the NOC from employer, is it required or not? You already answered that.
John, I have a question. I'm just asking one critical question. As we see that essentially it's now common for the doctors. It's getting on like, too much on education side of things. So people are promoting education. So UAE is promoting education and they want to bring in good people out there. They want to promote the good thing. When you think about, based on your experience, when do you think that it will become a norm that anybody can go and apply initially on an specific, category of the golden visa? And when this process will be that smooth, because the laws and regulations are pretty much not known to many people until now. So when you think that, is there any specific process driven certain thing which is available for people to refer before they go and prepare their application kind of stuff?
So, I think most governments, when they launch something like this or any new service, it takes a few months for it to settle down. And I think certainly the Abu Dhabi government is very keen to make this as simple and as customer focused as possible, but that takes time. So I think the process will definitely be easier in early 2022, definitely easier in 2023. That said, the Abu Dhabi Residence Office is very, very keen to help as much as they can to people who are eligible for the golden visa. So if there are things that you need to check, email them, call them. They are the best people to advise you on what you need to do, so that once you put in an application, there aren't any problems or there aren't any delays, because the aspiration is to get them processed very, very quickly, even though multiple government entities are involved in the decision-making process. They're trying to make that as simple as possible. So if you have specific questions about documents or eligibility, email them. They will get back to you and they will help you and guide you, because there is so much emphasis on this from the leadership of the Emirate and the leadership of the country. Everyone knows they need to make this easy for applicants. So they'll do what they can.
Perhaps. And one more key question that always goes in a mind, that if you apply in a particular category and they do not approve it, does it prohibit a person who's applicant in that particular category to apply in other category? For example, somebody applies as a professional and have been denied, probably he's not meeting the criteria. Can he tomorrow go and make another application within the, is there any time frame within which he can do that, or he cannot do a second time application as an investor or something like that? Does it take the chance of people need to be very vigilant about the choices that they're making?
It's worth checking. I don't know about the time restriction on the window for how often you can apply, but certainly there is a cost to applying, and I know that the cost is non-refundable if your application isn't successful. So it's worth checking.
For the entrepreneurs, I know that you cannot apply for 90 days following your first application or rejection.
Wow. So this is very important criteria to all our members, that if the application is somehow is not approved, then 90 days, and following which again you need to
that is for the incubator program, not for the ICA. ICA, I have no clarity, but for the incubator program, I know there's a 90-day limit.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. We have many questions related to chartered accountants to get golden visa. I put this question to Chairman Neeraj and Chairman Sundar Norani. What we are going to do? You have any plans? How we are going to help the members to get the visa? Do we have some plans? We are going to plan something.
Yeah, let me start with this. Well, what we had thought is that we will approach appropriate ministry here, and we have not decided which one, but most likely probably we'll go to Department of Economic Development and check with them that how we can submit something to say that chartered accountants are taking care of the financial health of the country and why we should be made eligible for having the golden visa. We will put in all facts and details to the authorities, and probably Sundarji will add to it and see that how we can take it forward. If anything specific approval is required, or if they ask for certain information from our database in terms of positions where the members are working, how long they have been in the country, whatever information is being asked, and probably they can filter it and they can fix some criteria on what basis they can offer chartered accountants golden visa. And we really are hopeful that somewhere, somehow, this should work. Sundarji, you can add on it.
Thank you, Neeraj. In fact, from the chapter, we are planning to meet with the government authorities in Dubai who are responsible for, doing this, concluding this process. And hopefully, we will be having a meeting soon with them to get their guidance and see what is the possibility of including chartered accountants in the category of eligible visa holders. I mean, I know that the process might be different in Dubai, Sharjah, or Abu Dhabi, but having said that, considering the fact that, Expo 2020 is coming, and I do understand from the government of India that Indian expatriates, India people will be the highest, first time in more than 170 years of history of Expo. So probably there is much to look forward for the support from the government of Dubai for us as chartered accountants. Let us hope for the best. We are very positive, and this is what the government wants to encourage. They want people to stay safe, and they want people to have long-term commitments. They want to run the country, run the economy, run the industry. So, inshallah, that is what we say in the local language, that things will be brighter for all of us as chartered accountants.
On behalf of IPVG also, I would like to assure all our members that we've already been engaged by the relevant authorities in terms of, getting some names out of the IPVG member database. As Sharjil mentioned earlier, the government is looking at proactively, looking at individuals and, selecting them for golden visa. And we were approached very confidentially in terms of people within our community. And we will continue to engage with stakeholders to ensure that, relevant professionals as well as entrepreneurs get golden visa. And this is good for the country, also good for our organization.
In fact, to add further on that, some of the past chairmen in Dubai chapter, they already have a golden visa in their hand. Recently, Naveen Sharma, the past chairman, he got the visa. So, there is a lot of positivity. Yes, we all need to join together as a professional community to make this happen. Yes, there will be some hand holding required with some senior officials and consultants. We will do that, and hopefully we all will reach the goal.
What would be useful, Sundar, is that if there is some kind of a help desk or some guidelines or something compiled through common resources, that will help all members. This is a suggestion, and there are published guidelines, but you can see in today's Q&A, I see 159 questions, some of them repeated, but there are a lot of, specific questions affecting certain members. And to the extent collectively, these could be analyzed or even, small committee comprising of people who have got the golden visa or have got some experience to help members answer such questions or facilitate, it would be very useful for members of both chapters.
Yeah, definitely, Barry. We will consider that. And within the EXCOM, we will set up a subcommittee who will look into this, and Vice Chairman is also here. So we will discuss that and see what is the best way to accelerate the process so that, before the end of this year, we have some good news for some of the members to start with.
Thank you, CA Paddy, CA Sundar, and CA Neeraj for addressing the members of IBPG, ICA Abu Dhabi and Dubai for their queries. And CA Shafiq, Mohammed Shafiq, how much time we have for Q&A? Can we continue for how much time? Because we have a lot of questions.
Yeah, sure. We can continue for some more time. 5 minutes.
Some more time. Okay. Thank you. The next question is on the changes in Emirates ID number. Will the number remain same or it going to change when you?
It remains same.
It remains the same. Which tax payment is it referring to? Is it VAT or anything else about the tax payment requirement?
I believe it's VAT, but there might be more clarity required from the government side.
What's the rationale behind authority allowing encashment of investment after 2 years? How does the government measure contribution of the beneficiary?
I think, they just want to make sure that when they are giving a visa, there's no flipping. So you take, let's say on the basis of a 2 million dirham property, your visa, and then they don't want you to flip, and that's not the intention. So they want you to keep this property for at least 2 years. That's one of the conditions if you are taking a visa on the basis of a property.
And just to add to that, I think we have to remember that the overall policy aim here is so that people can have the UAE as a long-term home. And if government sees that the behavior that's being driven by having a golden visa isn't leading to that long-term relationship with the UAE, then the rules will tighten. I mean, that's just how governments work. So I think a lot of these rules will be refined over the next few years once the behavior of golden visa holders becomes clearer, and whether that supports the government's overall aims on the golden visa and economic growth.
A question from Ravi.
With regarding to the real estate investment, it is only one property or it can be multiple properties. The value of it should be more than 2 million.
So it is not specified. So you could have more than one property, but they are looking at cumulative investment of 2 million in terms of real estate. So you should be able to provide that information. Yeah.
Okay, but all the property we should hold it for close to 2 years.
No, it's not. Once you are granted the visa, you may purchase it tomorrow. So if it's valued at 2 million, that's fine. You'll get the visa, but you should hold that property for at least 2 years.
Okay.
And for some reason, if you sell, you need to purchase it within an equivalent property within 6 months.
Our CA will advise them how to avoid all those.
A question from Mr. Ravi to Mr. Syed. Can a CA apply as a special talent? What's the qualification basis for special talent in finance? So Mr. Syed, question to Syed.
I mean, as Mr. Shagil said in his initial address, I mean, there is no category for chartered accountant as such. I mean, the thing is you need to apply and you really need to see you are fitting into which category and approach them. And I think the best thing is you go to the authority and either you send email or have a phone call. I mean, unfortunately, there is no particular category for chartered accountants or accountants as such.
Thank you, CSI. Which website have the updated information, which we can see online?
The Abu Dhabi Residence Office website has all of the information that's required on how to make an application.
Is the golden visa holder can do job and also apply service license simultaneously? A job and a service license.
As far as I understand from the authority, that is possible. You can apply for any professional license while working for someone.
Okay. Thank you. And someone with a designation of finance director with a salary of 50,000 plus, can you apply under executive director, or there any specific designation for that?
I think it's the executive director category.
If your salary is 50,000 plus and you're a CA rank holder, does it increase your chance for getting a golden visa?
I think that is very difficult to answer because there is a committee, as I understand. I don't know the nitty-gritties of it, but as I do understand, they do have a relevant committee who take the decision. So if you are a rank holder or not, whether that adds any value, I think that is difficult to answer, and that's not known to anyone at this point of time.
Okay. If a person is having a deposit of 2 million and his family is eligible for golden visa, do you need a sponsor for a golden visa?
I mean, the whole idea for the golden visa is you don't need a sponsor. So the purpose of golden visa, as I understand, is you're on your own. So definitely you don't need a sponsor as such.
Okay. What about free zone companies? Are they eligible for golden visas?
I think the answer is yes.
This question to CA side, because it's a question from a chartered accountant itself, CA Rishi. What's the main premise for getting the approval of golden visa? I think CA side, you need to really explain. We need golden visa, how to, go step by step. As a chartered accountants, what will make you qualify? Can you just go a little bit details? We are really interested to know about that.
I mean, I think, as I said, what they see is what value you are adding. I think rather than only your profession, as I understand, authority is also looking into what real value addition you are going to make or you have already made in the country. I think that's what they're looking into. So real details of it, if you ask me, I think I have no idea, how they really assess that. But they do have a relevant committee, as I understand. You need to go with your documents, as I said. You need to go with your degree, attested degree, and with your employment contract. I think that's the only way you are going to get specific answer. Otherwise, I don't think there is any special thing which you need to have to qualify for a particular visa.
Thank you, Said. Can we apply for golden visa from Abu Dhabi if the property and employment is in Dubai? Anyone can take the questions.
I think it means
I
that
don't
we're
think
not
it's
sure.
possible. For real estate, it should be registered in a particular state. So it will be Abu Dhabi. So if you are an Abu Dhabi property holder, you can get your golden visa from Abu Dhabi. So you can't apply for a Dubai property in Abu Dhabi and vice versa. But you can go to Dubai and apply for a golden visa in Dubai and get a golden visa out of Dubai. And you're staying in the same country, so it doesn't matter. It's a federally issued visa. So it should cover you to stay anywhere in the UAE, but your visa will be from Dubai.
Thank you, Paddy. And I think we can go on, but because there is a time limitation, if you could share your details, I think the chapter will share details to contact for some more clarification if you need. I think we would end the panel discussion here, and thank you for attending this panel. And I would like to invite C. Anurag for the vote of thanks. He's a Vice Chairman of ICA Dubai chapter.
Thank you. Thank you, members of IBPG Abu Dhabi, ICA Dubai chapter, ICA Abu Dhabi chapter. Thank you to all the panelists and speakers of the day, Mr. Padmanabhan Acharya, Paddy, Mr. Shargil Ahmed, Mr. Rohit Muralia, Mr. Saeed Javed, for helping us to understand the entire nitty-gritties about the Golden Visa and answering all the questions so patiently and so deliberately on this particular subject. I also would like to place thanks to John George for moderating the session and asking all the questions on behalf of all the members. And members, it's very important to thank our sponsors, without whom such kind of events are not possible. So I would like to place the thanks to all the sponsors of ICA Dubai chapter, ICA Abu Dhabi chapter, IBPG, for helping us to continue to enlighten our members on this knowledge spree and bring out such sessions of such a great magnitude. And special thanks to each one of you for attending and making this event so powerful and blessed. We can see the number reaching out today to 600 and still the number 335 at the moment. So thank you very much for all of us to attend this event this evening. And we will continue to see more excitement coming in due course from all the organizations towards the learning and development of all our members. So thank you very much. Stay blessed, stay safe, stay healthy. Good night to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Good night.
Thank you all.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you, Rohit. Thank you, Syed. Thanks, Shargil.